Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Ghoti deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an amazing deck that I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in it for you guys. This deck is super fun because of its boss monster, Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, that can actually board wipe the field. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Pace's Light of the Ghoti. This card is a definite 3 on the deck that has the ability you can banish this card you control to be able to special summon a fish monster from your hand, except another copy of this card. And during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card. And this card also has a quick effect that you can synchro summon during your opponent's turn into a fish synchro monster using cards that you control, including this card, which is a really awesome effect to be able to just instantly synchro summon during your opponent's turn into some really powerful cards like your copies of your Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, which is just a crazy powerful boss monster. We then play a single copy of Shift Fairy of the Ghoti. This card is a really good one of the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card. It lets you banish this card from your graveyard and then target a fish monster you control, and it gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. And it also shares the exact same effect as your copy of your Light of the Ghoti, that during the standby phase of the next turn after this card is banished, you can special summon this card, and it also lets you synchro summon during your opponent's turn, which is a really cool effect. We then play 2 copies of Zep. Zep is a really good 2 of in the deck to round out your tuners. This card just helps you out a lot because you can banish this card from your hand and then target a fish monster in your graveyard and banish it, which helps get your Ghotis that are stuck in the graveyard out of the graveyard and get them banished so they can cycle through again, which is just really good. And this card also has the ability during your opponent's turn, if this card is banished, and you can special summon it, which is just a really awesome effect. And if this card is special summoned, you can basically use the ability immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon a fish synchro monster using this card that you control, which is a really awesome effect to just let you synchro summon during your opponent's turn. I love that about these cards, that they just let you synchro summon over and over again. We then play 2 copies of Shade of the Ghoti. This card is insane. I love this card in the deck as a 2 of. I don't feel like you need 3, but it's a really awesome 2 of. That during the main phase, quick effect, you can banish 2 fish monsters from your hand or graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect just to get you a level 6 on your side of the field so you can start synchro climbing into some really awesome cards. And if this card is special summoned, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and banish it when it leaves the field, which is a great effect. And if this card is banished, then you can banish a fish monster from your graveyard and then add this card back to your hand, so you can use this card over and over again, which is a great effect, but it is a once per turn per effect. We then play just a single copy of Zeep. Zeep is just a good one-of extender for the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy in this particular build, but it is a really good one-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Abyss Shark. Abyss Shark is a really awesome card in this deck, and I absolutely love this card because it can special summon itself to your side of the field, and it also has the ability that you can add a level 3, 4, or 5 fish monster from your deck to your hand when this card is special summoned, which is just going to help you so much in this deck. This card is just really nice as a 3 of in this build. We then play 3 copies of Lifeless Leaffish. Lifeless Leaffish is basically the Armageddon Knight of the deck that has the ability, when this card is summoned, you can send a fish monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card. You can also banish this card from your graveyard and then target 3 fish monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into the deck and then draw a card, which is a really good effect to be able to use with this particular deck because it's just going to help you recycle some of your fish cards back into your deck. I love that about this card, and it just helps out a lot in this particular build. We then play 3 copies of Minaruka. Minaruka is a really awesome new addition to this deck, and I love this card so much that when a water monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can just instantly special summon this card from your hand. And you can also banish 1 face-up fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster you control, and then target 1 face-up card on the field and negate its effects until the end of your opponent's turn, which is a great effect to help you not only cycle your Ghoti cards, but also use this card's ability to be able to deal with your opponent's cards and negate them. This card is really good as a 3-of in the deck. It's a great extender and negate stuff, and it also cycles your Ghotis. This card just was made for this deck. We then play 2 copies of Silent Angler. Silent Angler is just a really good extender for the deck, and if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can't special summon from your hand for the rest of the turn, which is a little bit of a downside, but you're rarely ever summoning after this effect anyways. You just use this card as the last card in your hand to special summon. We then play 3 copies of Batunaful Princess. Batunaful Princess is a pretty good normal summon in the deck that when this card is normal or special summon, you can banish this card to be able to special summon out a level 4 lower fish monster from your deck. You can summon another copy of this card, which is a pretty good effect to get the exact card you want on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Supe Duskwalker. This card is insanely good in the deck. You discard a card, special summon this card from your hand to defense, and then you can special summon a Supe from your hand or deck, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of the turn after you activate this effect, except Synchro Monsters, which is a really good effect to be able to use to be able to summon out your copy of your Supe directly from your deck, because this card basically gets you directly into your level 6 Synchro Monster, which is a really awesome thing that you immediately can step into your copy of your Serpent of the Ghoti, which is basically the entire deck, which is just really cool that you can step into that card so easily in this particular build. I love that about this deck, and it makes it very easy to basically turbo into that card with this particular build. It makes it super good. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom, which is just one of the best hand traps in the entire game, and this card is just absolutely nuts in this deck to be able to just stop your opponent from touching the deck. It's just a really good card overall. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good in this particular deck to be able to basically stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is really nice in this particular deck to go along with our 2 copies of Ready Fusion, because these cards actually help you extend by a lot in this deck. They're really good in this particular build just to basically special summon a fusion monster directly from your extra deck, which is just really good in this particular build to get cards like your Rare Fish or your copy of Alvis directly on your side of the field to just extend your plays. It really helps out a lot in this particular deck at just the measly cost of about 1,000 life points. We then play 3 copies of the Most Distant Deepest Depths. This card is a great search card in the deck and get you the exact Ghoti card that you need. Is while you control a fish synchro monster, this card cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects, and you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. That you can banish a fish monster from your hand or grave, and then add a Ghoti monster from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to just instantly get to a Ghoti card that you need. And if a fish monster is normal or special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can target a fish monster that you control and banish it, and if you do, add this card to your hand, which is a great effect to just basically get this card back. I love that about this card, that it just helps you extend, and it also recovers itself extremely easily in this particular deck, and it's a really good 3-up. I have considered cutting it down to 2 because it can be a little bit bricky, but I really like this card as a 3-up in this particular build because it just really is easy to get to, and you don't want to be able to like draw multiple copies of it, but it's a great card to see. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3 traps, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is a definite 3-of in this particular deck, and just helps out a lot in this particular build to just stop your opponent's monster effects, but you can also set this card to your side of the field, and then lock down entire columns of spells and traps, which is just really nice for this deck. I really like this card in this particular build, and it's a great hand trap to pair with your copies of your Ash Blossom, bringing the total hand traps up to about 6 in this deck, which is just really good considering we can actually synchro summon during our opponent's turn, which is really good. I love that about this deck, and it just helps out so much to be able to use this card to basically just stop your opponent in their tracks. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're just going to be playing a single copy of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. This card is a really awesome card. I absolutely love this card in the deck, and this card is a great effect that the original attack of this card becomes 500 times the number of banished monsters, which is quite a lot in this particular deck that we can actually get banished extremely easily in this particular build. And if this card is synchro summoned during your opponent's turn, you can banish all cards on the field, which is why this card can get absolutely massive and why it's such a good card in this particular build to just basically make this card and board wipe the field. And during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished from the monster zone, you can special summon this banished card, which is a pretty good effect that this card can just bring itself back to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of the Supreme Sovereign. This card is really good because it can get absolutely massive with the amount of times you can banish in this deck. And this card can also drop your opponent's monster's attack down by 100 attack and defense for every banished card and bring itself up by 100 attack and defense for every banished card, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of the Ice Jade level 10. This card is really an interesting card, and I'm really liking this card in playtesting. It's helped out a lot because it just helps you in the particular game to close out games, and it's a great level 10 to go into. I actually cut the second copy of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond for this card. We then play two copies of Asken. Asken is really good as a level 8 option, and I really love this card in that, because if this card is synchro summoned, you can target a fish monster that you control and a card your opponent controls and banish them, which can be itself. And if this card is banished, you can banish a fish monster from your graveyard to special summon this card, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So basically what you do is you target itself, and then you get rid of an opponent's card, banish a fish from the grave, and then immediately bring this card back, which is really insane. That it not only cycles your Ghotis from the graveyard, but it also lets you bring this card back and its spot removal. We then play a single copy of the Adamancipator Risen Dragite. Dragite's really good as a spell trap negate in this deck. One copy of White Aura Whale, which is one of my favorite synchro monsters to make in this particular deck, because this card is actually a board wipe as well. It's basically like a mirror force, which is really cool, because when this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all of your opponent's attack position monsters, and this card can make a second attack on monsters during each battle phase, and if this card attacks a defense position monster, it does piercing damage, which is just absolutely crazy. You can't even make this card because it is a fish synchro during your opponent's turn, because we can synchro summon during our opponent's turn extremely easily in this deck. So this card is just really good as a one-of in this build. We're then playing two copies of the Serpent of the Ghoti. This is one of the most powerful cards in the entire extra deck, and has an awesome effect that if this card is synchro summoned, you can manage a level 6 or lower fish monster from your deck, which is basically going to turn the entire engine on, which is just really cool, because then during the opponent's turn, you're going to bring back one of your cards and then go in for something like an Asken, which is really good. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can target a fish monster in your grave and banish that target. Then you can add one fish monster with an equal or lower level from your deck to your hand, which then gives you a search when you go in for something like a copy of Asken, which is just so good. This card is basically the entire deck and sets you up for so many different plays, and it's one of the best cards to go into in the deck, which is why we're playing the copies of Instant and Ready Fusion. So if we draw a level 4, we can actually bring out our copy of our Alvis to go into this card, or we can just immediately go into this card with our copy of our Supe, which is really insane. We then play a single copy of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This card can be made pretty easily in the deck, and it's a really good monster negate. One copy of the Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. This card is insane because we play so many level 2 tuners in this deck that it's very easy to bring out this card and then bring out a copy of Baron de Fleur beside it, which is really good by just basically summoning out our copy of our Excel Synchro. You can bring back a level 2 tuner and then synchro the copy of the Excel Synchro and the level 2 tuner into Baron de Fleur, which is just so good. We then play a single copy of number 4. Number 4 is really good to work with our copy of our Abyss Shark, and it's just a really good rank 4 that you can play in this deck that you can make super easy, and it's really a great card because all face-up monsters on the field become water, and it's also kind of like a mini Dragoon, because once per turn during your main phase, quick effect, you can destroy one water monster that your opponent controls, and since they're all becoming water because of this card, you basically can destroy any monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's attack it had on the field, which can do burn damage as well, just like Dragoon, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Rare Fish. Rare Fish is really good as a 1-up to be able to bring out to your side of the field. If you have a level 2 tuner, you can normal summon that level 2 tuner, and then bring out this card to go into your copy of your Serpent of the Ghoti, which is going to set up all your plays. Or you can play a copy of Alvain, which we do play as a 1-of in here, to bring out with your copy of Ready or Instant Fusion. If you have a level 4 in your hand, you can normal summon that out to your side of the field, and then bring out this to be able to make your copy of your Serpent of the Ghoti, because Serpent of the Ghoti is actually generic, which is really cool. It's very easy to make with either of these cards, which is really, really cool. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Ghoti deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's super fun to be able to board wipe your opponent with Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, which is one of the prettiest boss monsters I've ever seen. I absolutely love the artwork of this deck, and it's really crazy how powerful this deck is. So anyways, guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.